Wow, was that amazing. Donald Trump, back as US President. Frankly, I mean, I had no idea what was going to happen, but he was not someone I was very fond of. But you got to give credit where credit's due. He's done the job. In fact, the most remarkable thing about the election, and actually my son pointed it out to me, is Kamala Harris got, I think, about 68 million votes. Joe Biden had got 81 million. So what that means is the Democratic turnout fell sharply. Right? Trump got a little less than he got the previous time. But in the case of Trump, probably some people came, some people left. You know? So I think what that means to me is that after the first Trump term, which was like, he was crazy. I mean, let's be straight. People really wanted him out. A lot of people wanted him out. But clearly the Democrats had nothing to offer. So he's come back in smiling and in spades. And you know, my job in life is to be optimistic. So I believe that Trump is not going to be as crazy now as he was then. See, you know, a little bit of pop psychology. I mean, to my mind, he's always been someone who felt he was a star, but everybody didn't agree. You know, all the cool people in New York didn't agree. He no longer needs to do that. He no longer needs to prove anything. And if you really think about it, you know, some of his sort of fundamental things, which is that, you know, the allies should pay their share of the defense. What's wrong with that? Quite sensible, right? His style is a little off-putting, to be frank. But I think you know, my sense is he's not going to be as aggressive in the second term as he was in the first. Now, for instance, one of the key things he's talked about, Vance has talked about, etc., they've really got to bring Middle America back. And then if you look around the world, all over the world, countries are, you know, the whole era of globalization is, I won't say it's ending, but what globalization did is it made the rich richer, and a lot of people had a lot of trouble. And that's going to change. One other thing that happened after Trump was the German government has fallen. So, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? But I think that, and of course, there's Trump's whole story with tariffs, right? Now, I think he's going to get on China's case. So, there will be issues with inflation. I think inflation is going to remain high. The Fed's going to have a tough time to maintain it, to try to bring it down, which means interest rates are going to remain high, which means the dollar is going to remain high, which means the rupee will remain under pressure, right? Having said that, my personal feeling is the dollar is very, very high. It's sort of reaching, you know, sort of levels that it really shouldn't be able to breathe at. So I'm not sure how long that will continue. But clearly the pressure on the rupee will stay because it's not that inflation is going to come down anytime soon, right? What that also means is that Indian interest rates are not going to come down anytime soon. And here I think RBI has a responsibility. Their exchange rate policy, which prevents any movement at all in the rupee, is creating problems elsewhere, right? Basically, if you have a fixed exchange rate, which effectively they've been trying, you're going to have to follow somebody else's monetary policy. So if the US rates stay high, Indian rates are not going to come down, and growth, which is beginning to sputter here, will suffer, right? So I think RBI needs to take, you know, active consciousness of that. Now, but I do think there will be some good things that Trump will do. Well, I haven't said anything bad yet. I think he is really going to stop the killing in the world. There'll be a cost. I mean, probably Ukraine may have to give up some stuff, and it's terrible. But whatever happens, it's better than people dying every day, right? I also feel that Trump, will really put the pressure on Netanyahu. Because the truth is, ultimately, धंधे वाला है, धंधा करना है. Saudi Arabia is huge. He wants to do that. See, he now, while Trump doesn't, he's a very narrow-minded guy, but I mean, I'm giving him galis, but he seems to be, hey, the world, America certainly loves him, right? I think he now wants to be seen as a global leader. So he would really like to get this Middle East thing fixed. And the only way to do it is to really put the squeeze on Netanyahu. The only one who can do it is Trump. Because, hey, he's got America eating up. He's got certainly all the rich people, not only the rich people, he's got a lot of America eating out of his hands. And I think we will see these sorts of changes. So, and as everyone has seen, the stock market is, whoa, man, let's go to the top. Okay? But I think that's going to suffer. And because inflation is going to come down, the US deficit is going to be a big problem. So I think we will see a stumble in equities before long. Growth, I don't know how it will react. It remains to be seen how all of his stock pans out, right? There is there's a guy who's tipped to be his Treasury Secretary. So it's something very interesting. He said, these tariffs, they won't all come down at once. They'll be phased in, so the inflationary impact will not be so high. And that's sensible thinking. So generally, like I said, my job in life is to be optimistic. So I'm going to be optimistic that US will continue to, inflation is a problem, growth will sort of steady. There will be some cutback on, quote, globalization. But I think, 6 months, 8 months down the road, there may also, let me step back a minute. I think there may be some sort of problems with US growth for some time. But I think, in a year, shall we say, things will come back to a positive.